So I just want to give a little bit of commentary on my recent blog here dealing with spirituality and science. That really they're just different ways of perceiving and relating to and approaching reality. Now, first of all, a spiritual person or spirituality or being spiritual involves the ability to tune in to the unseen world, the realm of the metaphysical, that which is more hidden and deep and not immediately obvious. And that, in my mind, is where we're really tuning in to the energetic basis of reality. And the way of knowing, the way of tuning in to that deeper level involves largely a sense of feeling that reality. It's more of a deeper kind of sensory mode of picking up more subtle sensations where you feel what's going on. And this also makes me think of First Nations elder speaking to Carl Jung. And he said, you white people, you just think with your heads, where we think with our hearts. And that ties in so much with what else I've come across, that they often say that the shamans of old, the indigenous people of old, that they feel reality instead of just see reality the way we Westerners do. And to feel reality, to think with our hearts, it's where your mode of perception and how you relate to reality shifts from the head down more into the core of your being, into your heart, into your gut, where it's a way of knowing that is more intuitive, that you feel from the inside. You just sort of pick up things, all right, almost in your body. Okay. It's a form of attunement, and it's a way of knowing, since it comes through feeling things. It's a way of knowing that comes through connecting with things, becoming one with another person, an animal, your environment, by the sense of attunement. It's like you're connecting, you're plugging into it, and then feeling and picking up things that then is the basis of knowing in a spiritual sense. So it's a different way of knowing, all right? And this very much fits in with something I read years ago. It was a book written, I think, in the 70s by Arthur Dykman, a psychiatrist. I think it was called The Observing Self. And in that book, he describes two modes of consciousness. There's the objective mode of consciousness or of perception, and then there was the receptive mode of consciousness or perception. And they're very different. The objective mode is where what we're accustomed to, what we've been conditioned to in our modern Western world. We think that this is the only way of knowing and perceiving is the objective mode, where we see the world out there and we see it as a world of objects that we can pick up one thing and move it around and put it here, put it there, and have two objects relate to each other. And we're just basically manipulating an outer world of separate and distinct objects that we can dissect and analyze these different components and do things with them, all right? They're tangible, concrete, empirical, and then through logic and reason, we kind of, manipulate and fit things together in different patterns and whatnot. And that's sort of the objective mode of perception or consciousness. But then there is the receptive mode. And in the receptive mode is more of a diffused way of knowing. It's like you don't look just concretely on one object as separate from everything else, but instead it's more diffused. It's where you're just aware of the whole, and you focus on seeing the whole, perceiving the whole, sensing the whole. The objective mode is rooted in separation. I am a separate, the observer from the object, the subject-object separation, and I can then move these distinct and separate parts. The receptive mode is a way of knowing that comes through connectedness and just feeling and being a part of that larger web. You're in the flow, in the dance of the larger web of reality, and you're feeling it, and you're one with it. So there are two totally different modus operandi at work here, and they both have their pros and cons. We need to understand the nature of them both and know when to use which. This is the key. So when we're always in attunement, always just in connectedness and going with the flow, what easily then can happen is we can get overtaken by the emotions, overtaken by the whole, and we don't know how to sometimes get distance. And sometimes we need a distancing, a separation from the environment, from the other, in order to gain that bird's eye perspective, all right, that truly is more objective. Extremely valuable. We need that. And that so shows up in spiritual traditions when they talk about the detached observer. Right? There's a place for being the detached observer, right? But that's just one part of the story. There's also the place for not being the detached observer, but through becoming one with what is, being attuned through compassion, connecting and feeling from the inside out what another person might be feeling or what is happening around you. Right? There's very much a place for connection.